first short introduction before I actually start with the story. I have found these stories on Reddit. They are anonymous. There is no names in it or anything, because the point is not here to out any players or anything, right? They are anonymous. And those are basically stories taken out of Final Fantasy XIV. But even if you don't play Final Fantasy XIV, I think they're pretty relatable. Like, it's some drama, some weird stories, some crazy stories, basically. And I have collected 8 today. 8 stories. I don't know if we're gonna do all of them. We'll see how it goes. Oh, it almost broke your eardrums too. Okay. Then Triumphina was the one trolling. I see. I shall turn it further down again. All right, but yeah. Nah, I would find a new game. Okay, fair. All right, The Perfectionist. So, my first FC was very small, 30 members or so. Out of those 30 members, there were only about 6 active players, including me, my girlfriend, and the 2 FC leaders, a married couple. Now, FC with not even enough active players, short insertion, FCs are kind of like guilds in Final Fantasy. FC with not enough active members for a full party can get boring very quickly, and it did. But what's worse is that the wife of the leader, I'm just gonna call her the lady, had an interesting way of playing. Every time someone criticized her for anything, she would wipe the character and start anew. She could not take any heat at all as a healer main. Seriously, as an example, we were running a low-level dungeon for one of her many characters once, and some random wall-to-wall pull tank died. Got resurrected and wrote, "Thanks, I guess," in the chat. She didn't like that, so she deleted that character and went off to start a new game. She burned through multiple characters a day sometimes, so essentially we're only 5 active players because that lady is probably doomed to roam a realm reborn forever, which is the base game of Final Fantasy XIV. She also bullied someone out of the FC once because they were making fun of Lalafell, down to 4 active players. At one point, she and her husband, who was pretty much just minding his own business, decided to take a 1-week break from Final Fantasy XIV, and they made my girlfriend temporary admin to take care of the FC while they were gone. Nothing really to take care of besides activating company actions, but alright. However, the week became a month, and then they announced to maybe stay off for up to 3 months. During all this time, both leaders would unload their emotional baggage on my girlfriend over Discord, so at one point my girlfriend decided it wasn't worth it and she threw the towel. She went on Discord, explained that this isn't what she hoped to do in the FC, and announced her departure. The lady went ballistic after that, claiming my girlfriend broke the FC and left it in shambles, and how now she has to pick up the shatters left and rebuild it, and then instantly blocked her everywhere. I check out the FC Lodestones page occasionally, and absolutely nothing has changed. Almost no players and a new Lalafell every day. No regrets leaving that behind. My condolences to the lady's husband, who has to run Satasha, Tamtara, and Copperble mines more than any human should in one life. That's already the first story. It is pretty crazy. I guess this one is more relatable if you play Final Fantasy XIV, but basically creating a new character every time you make a mistake in a dungeon, that is pretty nuts. But it does make me wonder what's the furthest she got. Like, you know, you could count this as some kind of like, you know, no-hit run. Maybe she can make it, maybe eventually she can make it to endgame, never making a single mistake. The perfect knees. I mean, Ulavu, if you want to write a story about these perfect knees for me to read, you know. But seriously, if you like this format and you have your own little drama stories, it doesn't have to be Final Fantasy XIV, it could be any internet, MMO, whatever story, right? You can send it to me on Discord. Right, I will consider it, and I will make it anonymous. Like, I will not even tell the stories from you. I will keep it anonymous. All right, I'll just gonna jump into the next one. This one's a bit hot. This one's a bit, you know. Okay, I've titled this one, I Want Her. And there we go. I Want Her is what I've titled this one. So a few weeks ago, we invited a new Leaf player to our FC. Leaf players are sprouts. They are basically have this little symbol. They're new to the game. We'll call him Alice. Alice immediately starts hitting on one of our girls. She takes it jokingly at first, but it quickly becomes apparent that the dude is serious. He's told to back off, and our female FC member logs off for the night. The next night, myself and my RL wife are online. Alice is online and quiet at first, but then he mentions that he and the aforementioned FC member are no longer dating because he found a new in-game girlfriend. Whatever. Alice. It's actually a male name in this case, but yeah. So then he sees myself and my wife in Limser. This is the first time he's seeing her. She says hi. Another FC member informs him that she's my real wife. He immediately starts hitting on her. Okay, now it's on. Instead of getting mad or whatever, I decide to start doing all the romantic emotes on him. He doesn't like that. He says, "No, you're a dude." Then he points at my wife and says, "I want her." I told him I was sure my bet could change his mind if he wanted to come back to the FC house. This guy hears bad and instantly teleports to the FC house while trying to get both my wife and the aforementioned female FC member to come to the house. So I went to the house, dropped the bed in the main room, stripped, and did a dose on the bed. I kept trying to lure him in, doing little poses and beckoning, while propped up on one elbow. He just keeps pointing at the girls, saying he wants them. Finally, he gets tired of my advances and starts doing his own emotes back, like Alice thrusts a knife into your chest and Alice shoves you still beating hard into your mouth. I played along like I enjoyed it. I'm reading stories, Trunster. I'm reading stories. I played strong like I enjoyed it. Ugh, hurts so good. And so on. This went on for about 20 minutes, while the rest of our FC, now in the living room, watching it all. Finally, I got off the bed. Alice proceeds to strip, get on the bed, and invites the ladies once again. So I jumped right back on it and I did those on top of him while telling him, "Now we do it my way. My way is to humiliate the guy who hit on my wife and then boot him out of the FC. Then booted him and got dressed. He said he wasn't gonna leave the house, so I set the mansion to private and told the FC to come outside. Everyone did, and sure enough he followed. Then we all went back in and left him standing out there. It was probably the weirdest night I've had on the game. The creepiest player I've ever encountered. I'm pretty sure my wife thinks I'm gay." The trophies? No, they're from Table Sucker. But maybe one day I'll get some... No, they're from Table Sucker. I mean, I hope for the guy it was worth it. I don't actually know from when this story is. I didn't put the dates down. That would have actually been interesting to see. But like, yeah, hopefully it was worth it. All right, next one. Most of these are pretty short. They're kind of like just little short stories. Yeah, the title was "I Want Her" because the dude just, you know, to every female player he was like just "I want her." I wasn't necessarily always very creative with the titles. I just slammed them on that. The Bart. It didn't happen directly to me, but to my girlfriend. The whole situation was stressful and tiring though. It was a couple of years ago we had formed a static with other FC members and a couple of other people we knew on the server, and we had one guy join as a bard. A static is a group to go raid together. Everyone seems nice at first, and we do quite well as a static. The members, including the bards, are Japanese. I'm British, and my girlfriend is from Australia, and this came into play later. The bard becomes really interested in her, where she comes from, what she looks like, etc., and talks about how he's interested in learning English. Not an unusual reaction, really, when you're an overseas person living in Japan and playing a game on a JP server. Some people get curious. So we had a web forum we used to communicate. Discord didn't really catch on yet for another year. In a general thread, we often posted pictures of ourselves, just to get to know each other a bit. He became really obsessed with her pictures. Often in TeamSpeak, when out of a raid, he wasn't around. But if she was alone, he would suddenly appear to talk to her. We observed him doing this many times. He seemed harmless, mostly, but something about him got kind of creepy and it began bothering her. He came to an offline meeting we had, and he was this quiet salaryman type, didn't say too much, but seemed nice enough. It was after that when the problems began. He found out where my girlfriend works and showed up there one day talking to her and lurking around. She was upset by this, and I spoke to him about it, asking why he did it. He claimed it was an accident and he was just surprised to see her. Hoped it would end there, but it didn't. He went into her place of work several more times and was also seen near our apartment building. He began saying a lot of creepy stuff, like how Western women are better and how he wants to protect her and stuff. He was following her at the station, and she told somebody who spoke to him. They didn't seem that bothered though, and just told her to ignore him. He left the static due to people getting annoyed at all this creepiness in-game, but he still kept following her in-game or showing up at her work. He was hanging around outside our apartments again, so we called the police. They spoke to him and us, found a bunch of pictures and videos as they saw him recording when they showed up. They looked through it. He was told to delete it and stay away from us, and it was enough to scare him off, but it's just weird how he could have been watching us in a lot of places. It's the one reason I'm happy to not live there anymore. Was always a worry that he'd start stalking her again. That's not even counting the creepy love notes he messaged her and unsolicited dick pics 3 to 4 times. Yeah, Ula was pointing to a bastard, basically. Yeah. Yeah, this story is a bit yikes. Holy shit. From some in-game creepiness to stalking. Keep your virtual creepers at bay. Don't meet with them real life. And so today I learned while gathering these stories that you need to kind of like stay away from bards, apparently. There's another story, The Other Bard. The title is not indicative of anything, but like it was pretty funny to me that both stories were about a bard, and apparently bards are not to be trusted. All right. So this drama begins when I joined a static and I became friends with the bard of the group. They wanted to marry me in-game, and I said, sure, whatever. They sent me art saying they had commissioned it from me, and when I pulled up the Deviant art through the art URL, it was art that was made several years ago. This was the first sign of the lying bard. I brushed it aside, thinking they were just being nice, but oh my. Fast forward, they start talking about how they have many health conditions, and they started to talk about how they had a brain tumor and they were getting it removed. It was somehow removed in less than a day, and the bard was discharged within 8 hours. Please know, the bard IRL was around 300 pounds, give or take. I had seen the unfortunate picture. He would have never been discharged so soon. He was also posing as his wife in Discord, giving us updates. My friend and I figured out as they both had the same speech patterns, word and emote use. Anyways, this bard would also complain about how he couldn't afford meds or anything, yet spent $200 on a fight stick and all of these other Square Enix articles. This bard also asked me in voice if I would date them, if they were single. He was married with an 8-year-old. It was so fucking gross. He was also constantly bothering me while I was at work through Discord and texts. He also asked me how would I react if he came off an airplane to meet me. This bard also impersonated a girl someone in the FC knew back in WoW, and the bard told him things like "I like you too," etc. in DMs with them. I started to stop talking to this person. Everyone in the FC was white knighting, supporting him, saying that I couldn't handle being his friend due to his health problems. This was around the time too when the FC had just acquired a large house and I was the main decorator of it. I was the co-owner of this FC as well, with full privilege. I used all the extra furniture I had, including some pieces that I had since the beginning of housing release, and one morning I had a feeling some shit was going to go down, so I took my Paisa doll. While I was at work, I was kicked out of the FC along with my brother and my friend. We were all blocked and all of my furniture was stolen from me. Watch out for the bards, friends. Don't trust the bards. Don't trust the bards. But yeah, the story was actually originally a bit longer, but I did cut it off there because they're like, the other parts just go a little bit into the future of that player. Right, Tronster, right? Don't trust them. Oh, the next story? I really struggled with the story title for that one, but I just titled it, I Am Much Better. I started playing in 3.0, and by 3.1, I was very geared, leveled as a paladin. I had plenty of experience in WoW heroic mythic raiding, so I instantly started raiding Savage. I really liked the story. You'll find out, Ulavu. You'll find out. I really liked the story, and given that the community is kind, I decided to be a true warrior of light, helping new players. I learned White Mage and Dragoon also, and I was helping players with these 3 jobs. Wait, that's... oh, the warrior. These 3 jobs specifically. Most of the people would accept tips, but I couldn't really find anyone particularly interested in learning slots. I'd often use Shout to announce that I'm helping players with these specific classes, and one day I got a tell from a level 17 conjurer who apparently tried her first healing experience in a dungeon, but failed due to an experienced tanking player mass pulling, and she didn't know how to heal and panicked. She was treated badly and got kicked out of the dungeon. I then tried to help her as much as I could and mentored her in the ways of the conjurer and later White Mage, by helping her equip more of the gear pieces she was forgetting to, upgrading her weapon to something other than a level 5 starter weapon, etc. She was really grateful and we had lots of fun. We'd meet in my FC's house and chat around the bonfire place for more and more tips. At some point, she managed to get through all of the level 50 dungeons, trials, healing, and sometimes healing together in trials like Shiva, Steps of Faith, etc., to help her keep up with the higher healing requirements. She revealed to me that she was a girl and that she likes me around level 55. I had my suspicions that she was a girl, but I didn't want to ask as I thought this might be inappropriate. I told her I have a girlfriend who I actually play the game with, usually, and I'm even married to her in-game. She was quite sad about it, but kept playing to the point that she got to 60 and started raiding Savage with me, unlike my girlfriend. Then shit started getting real. Too much level difference. Then shit started getting real, in a bad way. She started comparing herself to my girlfriend and saying how she is much better. There it is. I couldn't ask to kick her out of the team as she was a good player and the rest of the group was in really good relations with them. I've tried to endure it and kept rejecting her till she eventually found my girlfriend's character. She then copied my girlfriend's look with a Fantasia, that item allows you to change appearance in game, and kept comparing herself to my girlfriend and then checking her, saying that she deserves me more, cause we do hardcore content together. Turns out that since I defended my girlfriend every time, she told the raid leader that she would quit if they wouldn't kick me. The raid leader knew my case and talked to me about it. He also said that it was worrying, as half the raid group would most likely quit if she would leave, due to guys liking her. Therefore I decided to leave the static and stop playing. I used the excuse of, my PC is broken, so I can't play anymore, and I quit together with my girlfriend. Later that month, she quit the static anyway according to my raid leader, people left, changed servers, raid leader quit. I haven't found a proper FC static since then. But, you know, she's a Savage raider. She must be better than his girlfriend. Tronsa, I'm not following, and I'm not sure I wanna follow. All right. The next story I titled Eorzean Love. We're actually going pretty quickly through those because they're not very long. We might do something else too. Or I might dig up some more stuff. I'm not sure. All right. Back in my old FC, there was a couple which had an officer dating a decently old member. Month of dating happens and they're practically in love. Me at the time had also been with my significant other, aka my ex. One day, this couple were so in love with each other that they decided to come out of secrecy and reveal themselves to each other. Our officer showed himself, but he did not get what he was looking for. Instead, he got a guy as his soulmate, which was not what he expected. Shattered and furious, his anger and frustration was known throughout the whole FC. The guy that was disguised as a girl disappeared due to the heartbreak, even suggested to switch genders for him to accept him. Once he disappeared, our officer was aggressive and moody and unfriendly, and possible to attack anyone at any moment. Me and the leader at the time decided to demote him so he doesn't do anything that may upset others out of anger and despite. It was supposed to be a wake-up call to let him know that he's losing people, not just the person he loved. Instead, he moves out and makes his own FC, invites many others, and bad names us. A supposed friend from our old officer's ex logs in and says that he has committed suicide. I was filled with shock and grief and locked out immediately and cried my eyes out knowing that there wasn't anything I could do to help. Even going as far as not logging in for days, weeks pass and this person comes back with the character he deleted. Saying he attempted to suicide and that his friend was mentally ill and says shit like that out of enjoyment. He said he considered suicide and spent every day crying over what happened between him and our old officer. We tried to comfort him for a bit, even invited him to be a tenant at my shared house with my ex. Fast forward, he started recovering and I went on vacation. At the time, I didn't have any internet services to talk to my ex, but desperately wanted to talk to her again, only to find out that she told me she and the heartbroken catfish have promised to be together and never be apart. What does that mean? Means I was cheated on and dumped even after being serious with each other for a long time. Fast forward, because of our old officer leaving, many other members left too, and our FC leader thought the FC is dead and so demolished it and went to another server. Left without a home, with a broken heart, lost friends and been backstabbed. I tried finding grounds to make me continue to play the game, even joined another FC where a friend joined to try and comfort me with others. Sadly, that wasn't the case, and I went to my old FC's location day after day and reminisce in the memories of the good old days. Month later, I picked myself up and made my own FC with a friendly I love and care deeply about. If it wasn't for them, to be honest, I'd be alone with trust issues and antisocial because of the experience I went through. Like the ridiculous bit here at the start with the dating for a month in game, never showing pictures to each other, and and then the catfish suggesting to change gender. Holy shit. Like this one paragraph, like I was of course checking the stories. I didn't read all of them fully. I was just checking them right before picking them up for today. But this first paragraph had me laughing earlier already. Like, one day this couple were so in love with each other that they decided to come out of secrecy and reveal themselves to each other. Our officer showed himself, but he did not get what he was looking for. Instead, he got a guy as his soulmate, which was not what he expected. Shattered and furious, his anger and frustration was known throughout the whole episode. I know that paragraph is just gold. Alright, I have one last story. It's a longer one. It's an RP story. This one I have not read fully. I've pretty much just read like the first paragraph of it, but it seemed very interesting. This is a long title. I'll shorten it. Balmung is one of the servers. I just need to shortly check that there are no names in here. But now it doesn't look like it. Okay, Balmung at 3 a.m. I'm just gonna hydrate really quick. Alrighty. Transa, you might like this story. It's a girl that is into ERP. Maybe you should play some Final Fantasy XIV. Alright. Balmung at 3 a.m. So, I'm a girl into the ERP thing. Have been probably going on for 7+ years. For someone who enjoys erotica and writing and also lives in bumfuck nowhere with all their friends moved away and nothing to do except drive to classes and come home, it can be a better way to kill time when I don't have the energy to grind out gear. This results in me sitting around, RP tech on, and fishing for tells. It's not uncommon on RP servers, and if you've been at it long enough, there really isn't much to it but some patience. So I usually browse around Reddit or do some schoolwork, and if I hear a message, I decide if I'm down to party or if my apathy is deafening. If it isn't, I tab over, and so long as the person isn't a mouth breather, entirely lacking social skills, I usually drag them back to my place and we go at it. This is pretty common for how things usually play out. And despite the stereotypes and stories you hear most people feeling out an online RP hookup aren't the socially challenged weirdos you hear about. Those are the nutcases who don't know how to keep quiet and unobtrusive about it, and with most of us you'd be surprised we were into it if you found out, because we're so normal and typically capable at the game while we're dispelling myths. That said, yeah, there are exceptions. This story is about one of those times. It's Friday night and I'm on summer vacation. What does that mean? It means not only do I not even have class to give me something to do anymore, but any RL hookups I might have for when I get worked up are out of town with better things to do. I'm in a mood, so I get on FF, throw up my RP tag and hover around my usual fishing spot and browse YouTube videos. Time is creeping by and I'm bored out of my mind and thinking of going to bed. Then I hear the whisper ping being sent. I tab back over and peek around, and all I got was a simple, "Hey." So far so good. No maladies or cringiness in sight so far. I throw back a quick, "Hey there," and we get to talking while his character walks over. Now, normally I'm not into rogue guy characters. Muscle dudes aren't my thing and the proportions are whacked out besides, but the last of my friends is off to bed and my sleep schedule is ruined by the way I've been listlessly pissing away the days. I've got nothing better going on, so I shrug it off and decide to roll with it. We chat for a bit and it's all pretty normal, just some small talk about the game. Eventually ask me why I'm hanging around and if I'm looking for anything in particular. I do the online equivalent of batting my eyes, playing with my hair, make it obvious to anyone with some social aptitude who can read between the lines what's going on. And while I imagine it's frustrating, it does filter out the clueless and save me some pain. But I'm getting off track. We run back to my place, do some quick setup RP to set the scene for our characters. Honestly, it's pretty trashy porn plot level setup. He might as well have been delivering a pizza to me in my bathrobe and asking, "So you ordered that pie with extra sausage, huh?" But I didn't feel like spending 2 hours banging out a proper introduction and a more believable reason setup that made my character and me seem like we were any less skankified. Now, this is where we start getting some red flags. First off, this guy started appearing in the first person. "I reach out and touch you." Not verbatim, but an example. It's already weird and out of place for most peers to do that, since the general consensus and etiquette is the characters are their own person, with their own identity and personality, separate from you. A fictional character you write. Now, I'm put off by this because this isn't something I want getting personal. But I figure it's an easy enough to respond with she and his, himing the guy. And he'll get the cue to swap to third person and self-correct. Nope. So great. Now I'm in metaphorically balls deep with the jolly green giant who is a few minutes away from going balls deep himself. And he's getting personal with his shit and killing the vibe. I could just bail or make an excuse, but the potential fallout and covering your ass with lies later is a hassle and a half. I'd rather just write out a quickie with this guy and go about ignoring him from now on, especially because he's keeping this up. I do the online equivalent of faking it and fluff his ego. "Wow, yeah, that was great. Now get the hell out. By the way, I already called you an Uber. Bye." chalked it up to boring, bad partner, which happens sometimes, and shrugged it off. Not like I had anything better to do, and I wouldn't have to deal with him again. If only. Let's jump forward about a week. It's late at night. I'm in the same situation as last time and casually chatting with someone who has got my interest. Someone who seems far more prone to knowing some basic etiquette. In years of doing this, I can count the number of times someone has swapped to self-inserting first person on me on one hand. And not even the entire hand. So I'm not really too worried about it happening again. I figure maybe I found something to do. Fate has other plans as a shadow looms behind me. Big Jolly G is back. I had managed to avoid adding him to my friends list and had hoped he'd take the hint. That was naive. Hey, what are you doing? Now it was obvious to anyone with eyes what I was doing. Practically hip to hip with someone else who walked up on me, each staring at each other and considering the hour. Well, if you've been around the scene, you know what's up if you're not dumb. Oh, just talking to someone, seeing where it goes. He doesn't like that though. I'm getting his lamentations now about how me hooking up with someone else makes our time together less special. I respond appropriately and diplomatically by groaning, rolling my eyes, and messaging some friends over Discord. Oh shit, the green one is back and he's about to nice guy me. I go on to message him back, telling him it was never like that. I never could indicate it was like that, and that I'm sorry he got the impression it was like that. I can't stress enough how not common sort of clingy shit is. But here I was having to put on my big kid pants and try to preempt the tantrum. Sorry, I have to drink shortly. My throat is getting a little bit dry. If this had been D&D, I would have just rolled a 1 diplomacy check because he went off. The torrent of filth that came out of his mouth was so self-righteous and enlightened that I could hear the neckbeard in each and every keystroke and smell the sulfuric Mountain Dew brimstone he was trying to summon up on me. At this point, I've put the other guy on hold to deal with his mess as I try to explain to him, sometimes when people say they want a no-strings attached hookup to kill some time, what they mean is they want a no-strings attached hookup to kill some time. Another one to my diplomacy check and nothing but insults and slurs. I was hoping I could try and talk him down, because I hate drama with a passion. But he had gone nuclear, so I just proceeded to blacklist the guy. You would think he'd wear himself out and move on with his life, right? That would be reasonable. But this isn't a fairy tale. This is Balmum at 3 a.m. What followed was me being stalked by this guy on and off for the next 2 months. It wasn't every moment of my time online, but it was him tracking me down in every zone and just following me around. Those were the preferable moments. Sometimes he got on alts and sent me messages telling me I was being unreasonable, that he really liked me and we could work it out. My usual response was, lol, and a blacklist. Usually just the latter. I had to report him and have my friends report him several separate times, and nothing ever seemed to come of it until one day he just stopped logging on. I heard later from someone else he had been asking people for my Discord, but thankfully I don't share that with anyone but my closer friends, so he had no way of finding me. If it wasn't obvious he was obsessed, then the fact that he was claiming he needed the information because he was my brother and needed to get in touch with me because I was his runaway sister he wanted to bring back home should set off some serious alarm bells. And where I hadn't really been feeling anything other than frustrated, I finally felt fully creeped as to what this guy would do if he got a hold of my information. I can't stress enough how normal he seemed when we first talked. Holy shit. That is a well-written story, by the way. A very well-written story. Yeah, right? And hey, Meg! Beautiful evening to you. Holy shit. Yeah, but this story was very well written.